The morning air in Tel Aviv feels heavy, thick, not with weather, but with the weight of yet another moment in a war that refuses to loosen its grip on the region. As the cameras roll outside Israel's National Center of Forensic Medicine, a quiet tension settles over the scene. This is not a typical day for the facility, though in the long months since the war began, the unusual has become almost routine. What unfolds in front of the building today adds another layer to an already tragic chapter, one involving hostages, negotiations, and the painful return of human remains. A white van turns slowly onto the street leading toward the forensic center. Its movement is deliberate, almost ceremonial, as though every meter it travels carries significance far greater than its physical weight. Inside the van are the remains found in Gaza, transferred through the Red Cross and brought here as part of a complex and emotionally charged process. The Israeli government announced that these remains were received under the terms of the internationally mediated ceasefire agreement, but the path they have taken, both physically and politically, has been far from simple. The van continues forward, drawing the attention of the officers stationed at the entrance. Their expressions remain composed, but their posture gives it away. Everyone here knows how sensitive this arrival is. The officers stand still, watching as the vehicle makes its way past security barriers and through the partially open gate. Each frame of its movement tells a story about the human cost of conflict, the desperation of families searching for closure, and the difficult role that forensic teams play in stitching together the final evidence of lives lost. For weeks, Israel has been engaged in a painstaking negotiation process with Hamas over the release of hostages and the return of remains. The US brokered ceasefire deal, which allowed a limited and temporary pause in fighting, resulted in the return of most of the hostages' bodies. Yet two names remain at the center of a painful dispute: Israeli citizen Gvili and Thai national Sudthisak Rinthalak. According to Israeli officials, their bodies have not yet been returned, and the government accuses Hamas of dragging their feet and deliberately delaying the process. Each day that passes deepens the anguish of the families involved, who wait for confirmation, for closure, for the ability to bury their loved ones with dignity. As the van crosses the threshold of the forensic compound, the gate begins to close behind it. The metal doors glide inward with a steady motion, their sound swallowed by the hum of traffic and the quiet murmuring of nearby officers. The closing gate is symbolic, not of secrecy, but of the privacy this process demands. Families will soon be notified, forensic specialists will begin their work. The story behind each set of remains will be examined with precision, respect, and scientific rigor. And yet, even with all the professionalism in the world, nothing inside this facility will erase the pain tied to the journey that brought these remains here. Close-up shots show the gate locking into place, its heavy structure sealing off the activity within. The officers standing guard shift slightly, their stance becoming more formal, almost ceremonial. Some bow their heads, others lift their hands in salute. The gesture is subtle but meaningful. It acknowledges that even in war, even when political arguments dominate the headlines, the return of a body demands respect. It is a universal moment, a recognition of humanity surviving amidst destruction. Across Israel, the news of additional remains being transferred from Gaza has struck a chord. The return of hostages, living or deceased, has been at the heart of national debates, sparking emotional demonstrations, candlelight vigils, and political pressure campaigns. Families of those still unaccounted for have marched through city squares, carrying photographs and pleading for answers. Government officials have held late-night briefings, insisting that negotiations continue behind the scenes. And throughout it all, the Red Cross has remained a critical mediator, shuttling between sides, facilitating exchanges, and reminding the world of the humanitarian obligations that remain even in wartime. Inside Gaza, the situation is no less complex. The chaos of ongoing hostilities has made it difficult to locate, identify, and transport remains. Hamas, under pressure both internally and externally, has been accused of withholding information and using the hostage file as political leverage. Humanitarian organizations warn that proper handling of remains has become increasingly difficult in areas where infrastructure has collapsed, morgues are overwhelmed, and medical facilities are operating under extreme conditions. The chain of custody that normally governs such transfers is now tangled in shifting front lines, damaged roads, and fraught negotiations. As the officers outside the forensic center stand guard, their presence hints at another layer of complexity: security. In recent weeks, several Israeli facilities connected to hostage affairs have increased their protective measures due to concerns about targeted disruptions, protests, and emotional confrontations. Tensions inside Israeli society have risen sharply, with public anger directed both at the government for not securing earlier releases and at Hamas for prolonging the suffering. The arrival of remains today is a reminder that progress is happening, but painfully slowly. The van itself, now out of sight, carries a story that forensic experts will unravel in the coming hours and days. Their work is methodical and quiet, often conducted away from cameras and headlines. They will examine fragments of cloth, bone, and personal effects. They will compare DNA samples with family records. They will reconstruct events as best as science allows. And eventually they will provide the answers that families have been waiting for, answers that can bring closure, even when the circumstances of death remain unbearable. Israel's National Center of Forensic Medicine, located in Tel Aviv, has become a crucial hub in this process. Over the years, it has handled cases involving terror attacks, military casualties, and complex criminal investigations. But few periods have tested its capacity and resilience like the current conflict. Staff members have spoken privately about the emotional toll of their work, describing scenes that linger long after the workday ends. Yet they return, driven by a sense of duty, knowing that every identification matters. For the families of the 2 remaining hostages whose bodies have not been returned, this moment deepens the tension. Gvili's relatives have campaigned for weeks, holding press conferences and urging international organizations to intervene. Friends of Thai citizen Sudthisak Rinthalak have spoken to media outlets about their fears that he may never be recovered. Thailand's government, too, has been pressing for updates, emphasizing the importance of repatriating its nationals who were caught up in the conflict. The absence of these 2 remains has become a point of escalating diplomatic pressure, one that both Israel and international mediators continue to navigate. As the camera lingers on the officer's salute, the gravity of the moment becomes clear. The salute is not simply a gesture of protocol, it is an acknowledgement of the lives affected, the families waiting for news, and the collective mourning that extends far beyond this facility's walls. In Israel, military salutes at scenes involving fallen or missing individuals evoke a deep sense of communal grief. The image is instantly recognizable to viewers across the country, a silent sign of respect. Beyond Israel's borders, the return of remains has sparked global reactions. Human rights groups are monitoring each exchange closely, calling for greater transparency and urging both sides to prioritize humanitarian obligations. International diplomats continue to press for more comprehensive agreements, arguing that the return of bodies is only one small part of a broader crisis that includes displaced civilians, damaged infrastructure, and ongoing hostilities. The arrival of this van in Tel Aviv fits into a larger narrative of a war marked not only by military battles, but by intensely human stories. The hostages taken from Israel, the civilians in Gaza caught between warring factions, the families waiting for news, the mediators shuttling between capitals, all of these threads create a tapestry of suffering, resilience, and political maneuvering. Every return of remains marks the end of one of those threads, but it never closes the book completely. In Jerusalem, political leaders have reacted cautiously to the news of the remains' arrival. Officials stress the importance of continuing negotiations, even as they criticize Hamas for delays. Statements from cabinet members emphasize that Israel will not rest until every hostage, living or deceased, is accounted for. Some officials point to the involvement of international mediators, underscoring the delicate diplomacy needed to keep the ceasefire terms intact. Meanwhile, the United States, which brokered the temporary ceasefire deal, continues to pressure both sides to fulfill their commitments. Washington views the hostage exchanges and the return of remains as indicators of whether broader progress can be made. Diplomats warn that further delays could jeopardize future arrangements and undermine trust in the mediation process. The US has urged all parties to act with urgency and compassion, emphasizing that humanitarian issues should not become bargaining chips. The Red Cross, for its part, remains one of the few organisations able to operate across both Israeli and Gazan lines. Their personnel have been instrumental in arranging transfers, verifying identities, and ensuring safe passage. However, they have also expressed concern about the growing difficulty of working in Gaza, where the humanitarian situation has worsened dramatically. The Red Cross has avoided public confrontations with either side, but its statements underline the need for consistent access and cooperation. Inside Israeli communities, the return of remains inevitably triggers emotional reactions. For some, it is a painful reminder of the cost of conflict. For others, it renews calls for stronger military action or more forceful diplomacy. Families who have received their loved ones' remains often speak of mixed feelings, relief at the closure, sorrow at the loss, and hope that others will soon experience the same. Each body returned brings a family out of limbo, but the grief persists. In Gaza, residents face a parallel reality. Many families there also wait for news about missing relatives, often unsure whether their loved ones are buried under rubble, held by authorities, or lost in unmarked graves. The war has left countless Palestinians unaccounted for, and the identification of remains has become a challenge, strained by limited resources, constant movement, and damaged facilities. Forensic teams in Gaza work under impossible conditions, often without access to critical technology or consistent electricity. As the narrative shifts back to Tel Aviv, the visual of the closing gate resonates. It is a quiet moment, devoid of commentary or dramatic sound, yet it encapsulates everything happening around this story: movement, transition, and the boundaries between public knowledge and private grieving. The gate stands as both a barrier and a symbol. What happens inside is deeply personal, meticulously scientific, and undeniably emotional. The officers stationed near the entrance now stand in formation, their uniforms crisp, their expressions solemn. When they salute, it is a final tribute to the remains that have arrived. The gesture evokes military tradition, but it also reaches beyond it. In conflicts like this one, where civilians and non-combatants are among the victims, the salute becomes a universal sign of respect, stripped of politics and focused purely on human dignity. Viewers watching this scene may notice the silence, the absence of shouting, protest, or chaos. This is not an explosive moment, it is a reflective one. The calm outside the forensic center contrasts sharply with the turmoil unfolding elsewhere, both in Israel and Gaza. But such moments of quiet are increasingly rare, and when they appear, they tend to reveal deeper truths about societies under pressure. The presence of cameras suggests that this arrival is part of a broader public record. In conflicts, transparency becomes essential, not only for accountability but for trust. Showing the arrival of remains, documenting the respectful transfer, and acknowledging the pain involved all serve as reminders that even in wartime, humanity must guide the process. These visuals will later inform news broadcasts, international reports, and possibly even historical archives. They will help tell the story of this conflict long after the fighting stops. The van, the gate, the officers, the salute, each plays a role in shaping this chapter of the war. But the true heart of the story lies elsewhere, in the homes of the families who have been waiting for this moment. For them, a knock on the door or a call from authorities will signal the next step in a journey they never wanted to begin. It will bring both heartbreak and closure, and it will underscore the devastating impact of a conflict that has touched thousands of lives. Tonight, as the news spreads across Israel, discussions will unfold at dinner tables, on social media, and in government offices. The war continues. Negotiations remain fragile. Hostages are still unaccounted for. But for at least one family, the remains arriving today may offer an answer, however painful. The story is still unfolding. The next steps depend on diplomacy, humanitarian cooperation, and the willingness of all sides to honor their commitments. But for now, in this moment outside the Forensic Center in Tel Aviv, a solemn ritual has taken place, one that reflects the enduring human cost of conflict and the universal need to bring loved ones home, no matter how long it takes.
ما في كنترول أخير.